I've been looking forward to meeting you. I'll finally get one of these things to work. Ah, well, that's more like it. Take a look. Recognize it? Sure, Alemite equipment. And for the next few minutes, Alemite is a partner with your oil company in presenting this story to you. The subject? Automobile lubrication, one of the most important services you have to offer. It's important to your customers because 80% of all car repair headaches are caused by faulty lubrication. And important to you because your business is sales and service. Your company's advertising helps you sell gasoline. Gasoline helps you sell your lubrication service. And nothing else offers a better chance to cement the kind of relationship with customers that pays off in increased profit. How? Well, that's why I'm here, to see if I can give you a hand. You see, Alemite knows how valuable your lube business can be to you. And it also knows a lot about the lubrication business itself. My outfit, Alemite, is the largest organization of its kind in the world. A national company with more than 38 years operation in this specialized field. In research, in testing, in production of the right equipment for the right job. Alemite has always held a constant, sensitive finger on the pulse of the automotive world. And that means car manufacturer and car owner alike. This is experience you can draw on, use, and profit by. Profit both in terms of added efficiency and, where you like to see it best, in terms of cash in the till. Good station operators like Joe here are getting their share of it. You know, Joe has a good system for greasing a car. Let's watch how he does it. Now, I don't say that Joe's way is the only way, any more than there's an only way for getting yourself married. But I do say that the system he follows has been proven to pay off. First of all, you notice the lube room is clean, neat, and orderly. Customers expect professional car care, and they begin to wonder and drift away if this department looks like the city dump at the end of a hard season. And now let's listen in on Joe as he talks to a customer. Notice how he uses the job ticket to sell the customer on his service.
4 o'clock? Sure, Mrs. Gray. I'll have your car lubricated by then, and I'll take care of everything else that needs attention.
Oh, that'd be fine.
Hey, let me look at the service sticker. It's overdue for a change of oil, and the transmission needs changing, too.
I didn't realize I'd gone that far.
Those things are easy to forget, but remembering them for our customers is part of our service. You know, Mrs. Gray, we always check over the entire car as a matter of routine.
Joe puts it very nicely, don't you think? And notice how he runs down the items on the job ticket to be sure everything is serviced that should be. Joe writes up the job ticket as completely as possible while the customer is right there, and additional needed services are listed, sold, that is, item by item. There are many things a customer won't think about, or may not even know about, unless they are pointed out. Joe is a real salesman if I ever saw one. For instance, he frequently takes a customer into the lube room and explains to them all the things involved in lubricating a car. And oh yes, he doesn't sell the ladies short. You know, there are more women driving cars today than ever before. Showing the customer around like this sells them on the professional quality of your work. It also helps build up your list of regular customers. And of course, customers can't be called regular until you have their lubrication business on a continuing comeback basis. The lubrication chart is helpful in explaining the procedure to a customer. As you know, it's prepared in cooperation with automobile manufacturers for proper servicing of their cars. With it in your hands, you are as expert as any competition a customer may be considering. This pre-job selling phase is important, for you can tell them and sell them on yourself, on your work, and on your station. It can turn occasional drive-ins into regular customers, and one-shot sales into added extras. Now, here's where Joe starts the job, in the kid glove department of the customer's car. It's important then to tackle it with clean hands and a clean uniform. Covers are used, you see, to protect against dirt and grease. Obviously, it's easier to cover up at the beginning than it is to clean up afterwards. And as you know, smudged upholstery or a steering wheel slippery with oil is simply asking for, well, you finish it. To begin with, the door latch and assembly is thoroughly cleaned of all old lubricant and dirt and re-lubricated with stick lubricant. Door hinges are cleaned and oiled with a light motor oil, used sparingly, as in the case of all these lubrication points. Test to make sure any squeaks have been thoroughly eliminated. And a little graphite in the glove compartment lock or a drop of oil on a squeaky hinge shows the customer that you've done a thorough job. There are many other parts that may squeak or be hard to operate. The accelerator pedal, ride control, overdrive, choke control, light control, wiper control, ashtrays, handbrake. At all points, wipe off any excess lubricant and work the parts so that the lubricant is properly dispersed. While you're in the driver compartment, you can check the brakes and then advise the customer if they need adjusting. Now the lights, high beam and low beam, to see if any bulbs should be replaced. This part of a lube job doesn't take much time and even less lubricant. But just remember, one squeak that still squeaks can unsell a customer on all you've done. It can give the impression that you haven't done a thorough job. That's why a good job on body hardware is so important. The next step of the lube job has been called gold mine territory, and with good reason. While you're prowling around under the hood, you have a natural and profitable chance to see and sell whatever extra services are needed. For instance, spark plugs, radiator hose, battery straps, points, fan belts, filters, and on through a long list of different items which can be checked. All this, of course, while you're performing a systematic lube job. With fender covers in place to protect against scratches and smudging. Joe uses stick lubricant on the locking plate guides and latches. Here, too, a little is enough, and any excess is wiped away. Joe also puts a few drops of oil on hood latch pivots, using it sparingly. Now, if you've sold an oil change, as Joe has, it's a good idea to make sure you don't forget it. Here's his trick. He lays the dipstick and oil cap on the hood latch plate. By doing this, he can't close the hood, just in case he might forget to put in the oil. A crankcase is occasionally driven away empty, and you know what that can lead to. And while you're right there, it's a good time to check the radiator. An inspection here can lead to extra sales of radiator hoses, connections, and conditioning chemicals for added safety. On the carburetor, throttle linkage and automatic choke linkage are oiled. So is the accelerator pump shaft. Some shafts, though, require chassis lubricant. All the way along, your lube chart will tell you what to use. Joe consults it often at every step of the job. That's what it's for. And as you know, it's all too easy to overlook something unless you refer to it constantly as you go along. Cleaning the air cleaner is an extra. It is one of the items that must be checked at specific intervals. If you haven't already sold this service to the customer and inspection shows it needs attention, make a note on the job ticket so that you can make an added sale. The bath type should be serviced every 5,000 miles. Wash them in solvent unless felt is part of the unit. In that case, just wipe clean with a rag. When clean, dry thoroughly and be careful not to overfill. As for the power steering unit, it should always be checked for level. If it's low, it should be filled to the proper level with the recommended fluid. It's important not to overfill. Be careful when replacing the cover. Over-tightening can cut the gaskets and break the reservoir seal. If the car is equipped with standard steering, check the level. And if it's low, bring it up to correct level with 80 or 90 grade, depending on the temperature. Use your special steering gear gun for this. Now, next in Joe's routine is checking the brake cylinder. Proper procedure is to check the level, and if needed, add the recommended type of brake fluid. Oil fill caps are simple to clean and should be every 1,000 miles. Wash it in solvent, just as you do the air cleaner. This is not part of the usual procedure, but it's a nice customer pleaser. The distributor next. Motor oil is used on the distributor shaft bearing. Next, a drop or two of motor oil in the generator. Over-lubricating here can cause damage. If you're working on a car that requires oiling the starter, now is a good time to do it. On many cars, there are chassis parts to be lubricated while you're working under the hood. These are upper control arms grease fittings, placed where they are for easier access. It's also important to know what not to lubricate. Your lube chart has the information, so check it from this angle as well as the others. This completes the second phase, the under hood part of a lubrication job. Now we're ready to raise the car and go on to the next step. With the car up on the hoist, Joe starts the center line procedure. First, a crankcase drain in this instance, since Joe sold an oil change. Then, because he also sold a transmission change, he drains that at the same time. He lets them both drain while he's completing other services. Regardless of whether a car has an automatic transmission or a standard type, air should never be used on a transmission drain to force out old lubricant. Now, on his way back to the differential, Joe checks the muffler, tailpipe, and tailpipe extension. He also checks the shock absorbers to see if they should be replaced. The level in the differential should always be checked and brought up to the proper level if necessary. Some jobs may call for a drain and refill if the specified interval is up since the last one. Now, here's a very important little item. Forget to do this and the customer will string you up by the thumbs. Be sure and put the plugs back in the crankcase and the transmission housing and tighten them up. Oil filters should be changed after every 5,000 miles of service. Otherwise, they become saturated, inefficient, and cause oil line clogs. Filter containers can accumulate a lot of grime and dirt, so be sure to clean them out thoroughly before inserting the new filler. The sale of a new oil filler is just one more thing that makes a lubrication job really pay off. Also sells an extra quart of oil. Discover all of these needs and sell them. When the filler is put back on the car, it's important that it's seated properly and tightened down. Otherwise, it may leak, which would, of course, mean a loss of oil. Well, that takes care of the third step. What Joe has done is just about standard for the average car at the center line step. In the minds of most customers, this part, chassis lubrication, is the whole lube job. It isn't the whole story, of course, but it's an important part of it. Now, first of all, you'll need a high-pressure lubrication pump and control valve, a low-pressure adapter for it to use where high pressure isn't indicated, and preferably a flexible extension adapter to get to hard-to-reach fittings. Joe follows this procedure, and it's a good one. First, he counts the number of fittings listed on the lube chart. If the chart says 17 and he counts 17 on the car, he knows he hasn't missed any. Methodically working his way around the car, he cleans them all, counting as he goes. Notice how a clean fitting shines, stands out. Good insurance against oversights when you go to work with the gun. and protection against gritty, grimy old lubricant being forced in to damage the bearing inside. If there are any missing or broken fittings, this is the time to replace them. Joe starts at the same place on every car and proceeds progressively around it. Fittings are too easy to overlook if you use an unsystematic hop, skip, and jump technique. On cars with conventional transmissions, a good place to start is under the front seat with the clutch release bearing fitting. It's the one most easily forgotten, so it's a good idea to get it out of the way first to avoid making such a mistake. However, as this car has an automatic transmission, Joe is starting at the left front wheel. On all fittings, the gun is seated firmly, without force. Pressure does the rest, locking the coupling tightly and forcing in lubricant. That sound, a pop, tells when to ease off. The sight of grease beginning to ooze out serves the same purpose. The control valve breaks free easily. A simple twist in any direction does it. Then the fitting is wiped clean. Lubricant left on the outside doesn't do any good, and cleaning it off now makes your work just that much easier the next time the car's on your hoist for a lube job. You'll find that many cars have hard-to-reach fittings, and that's where the flexible extension adapter comes in very handy. Depending on the make and model of car, universal joints, splines, and drive shaft bearings may also need servicing at this time. Your lube chart is your guide on this. Uncovered springs are lubricated with rubber-type lubricant, except when separators are used, which themselves serve to eliminate squeaks. While you have the car on the hoist is a good time to look at those tires. Not only can you remove pebbles and tacks, but it gives you a chance to really look them over with an eye toward selling new tires if the customer needs them. Keep the squeaks out of your customers' cars, and you'll keep them coming back. That's why a thorough, well-done, checked and double-checked chassis lubrication is so important. Records show that the real payoff comes from miscellaneous services given a car during the course of a lube job. Take a look and see what I mean. A wheel pack is an extra profit maker. When Joe sells a wheel pack, he does it before letting the car all the way down. It's always best to wipe the old grease off with a rag. Washing them with solvent may leave a film on the bearing, and if the bearing isn't completely dry, the grease may separate. By the way, now is a good time to inspect the bearings to see if they need replacing. Also, be sure and clean the old grease out of the hub. Now let's see how the wheel packer works. It is designed so that the old grease is forced out as the new grease is forced in. Wheel balancing is also an extra service. The whole job can be done in about a half an hour and is another real profit maker. The electronic wheel balancer shows the amount of unbalance very quickly. Now with the car all the way down, the very first thing to do is put in the oil. Be sure you put in the proper amount. And remember, if you put on a new oil filter, this takes an extra quart. Always check the dipstick after filling to be sure the oil is at the correct level. When refilling the transmission, Joe puts in 5 quarts first, then starts the motor and has it idling while he completes the filling. Just as with oil, the transmission is also checked for level, and always with the motor running. Now the battery. This can lead to the sale of cables and hold-downs, not to mention new batteries. Before closing the hood, it's a very practical idea to put a service sticker here where it can be checked on a routine station stop. This way it isn't necessary to ask to see the door sticker, and it also gives you the customer's name. Of course, a sticker is always put on the door for the customer's convenience. And the tires, all of them, checked and filled to the correct air pressure, including that often forgotten spare. And now comes what might be called the housekeeping routine. This is an appearance extra that includes those things that a customer can't fail to notice. Vacuuming the floors not only makes a good impression, but can lead to the sale of floor mats. Returning a car with the ashtrays emptied also helps to show the customer you've done a thorough job. Dusting, both inside and out, is important because it shows something definitely has been done when the car is returned clean, polished, and dressed up. Cleaning the windshield is not only a must, but it gives you a chance to check the wiper blades to see if they need replacing. You know, a lube job is an invisible thing to a customer. He can't see what you've done, no matter how carefully and conscientiously you've done it. In many instances, the quality of your whole lube job is based in the customer's mind on how the car looks after you've finished with it, and little else. Such a reaction may be unfair, but let's face it, there it is. Now, Joe takes no chances. He knows that how a car looks may unconsciously influence a customer as to the quality of the lubrication job that's been done. So, that does it. Or does it? The answer is no. Not to a dealer who recognizes a second sales opportunity when he sees it. The first one, pre-selling, is when the customer brings in his car to be serviced. This one, post-selling, is when it's returned to him. It's at this stage that you can sell the lube job back to the customer in a bid for his continuing business. Selling it back simply means letting him know what he got for his money. And there's a whale of a story to be told here. No other service offers more than a well-done lube job in terms of value received for money spent. Or, as Joe puts it, and very modestly, too, we think,
Everything's been done as it should be, Mrs. Gray. We serviced it from one end to the other.
Oh, good. That's fine.
Incidentally, I'd like to mention a couple of things we discovered as we went along. I noticed a squeak in the glove compartment hinge, so I oiled it.
Thank you.
And two, there was a loose bolt in the license plate.
well, there you have it. A sales opportunity that Joe didn't muff. And no wonder. He found out a long time ago that it's one that pays off in customer confidence, in repeat business, and in extra services sold. A lot of work? Yes. But hardly any work at all when you realize that every lube job can start a chain of sales, one service or replacement leading to another. Best of all, Joe's customers come back. They usually do to a station where they get the care and attention, the all-out service that they get here. And this looks like where we came in. Congratulations, Joe, on a job well done. Now it's time for me to say so long, too. I hope you liked looking and listening. Maybe it's time I brought this thing in for a lube job, too. And you might get my business. If, that is, you treat me right. Be seeing ya.
All windows glitter like gold in the glint of the rising summer sun. And for those who have the imagination to see them that way, the gold seems almost real enough to touch and gather up and coin it. But to make it real and really to gather in the gold takes a different kind of touch. It does take a touch of imagination, of course, but it also calls for a powerful touch, the touch of a powerful name. A touch of genius with which to kindle the public's own imagination. To give velocity to the sale of one's products out in the marketplace, where the gold from golden windows is gathered into heaps by those who can and will. There is no need to tell you gatherers of gold that the Westinghouse room air conditioners you have sold so successfully Go back to that day when the smallest yet most powerful compressor for its size powered the biggest breakthrough in the history of the room air conditioner business. The price was right, the timing was perfect, and Westinghouse, the people who captured the compact market, got into the air conditioning business with you in the biggest way and stayed in it and grew ahead of the market's rate of growth to its rightful place among the leaders. The velocity is there. The velocity of sales, the capacity and completeness of the line are there. We're already there in 1965. The finest line of room air conditioners in Westinghouse or anyone else's history. Don't touch it, you may have said, if only to yourselves. It's going beautifully. Don't touch those compacts. In 5 short years, Westinghouse has risen to within reach of the leadership of the market, second to one, able now to become second to none. Nobody's ever made such a reliable air conditioner before. They're the undisputed leaders far and away. They're truly portable. Don't touch them. Don't touch that line. We can put it into first place exactly as it is. You may have said or thought that. But what if we were to say to you, the people who captured the compact market have done it all over again? Suppose we were to say to you, there is a segment of the market, a segment almost so big as to comprise a market in and of itself, which no one has really touched to this day to turn it into gold. There is a window which stands untouched in the marketplace. It represents more than a third, nearly the half of 3 million aluminum windows being sold each year in this country. It is the sliding window, and it stands virtually untouched in the marketplace for air conditioners today. May we touch it? 5,500 BTUs, 8,000 BTUs. Designed for the purpose it serves, and it serves it with consummate ease. May we touch it again? More gold. It fits a casement window just as well, superbly. The people who captured the compact market have done it all over again. The sliding window is now your market to have and to hold. Touch it, and it turns to gold. There is another window, and it stands in the living room waiting. A living room window is not a place for machinery. Don't touch it, its mistress may have said. And yet neither is the living room or the dining room a place for sweltering heat. May we touch it? Panel Air, a new decorator touch air conditioner for those rooms in which machinery does not belong. When you aren't using it, it practically isn't there. But when you are using it, it is there to the tune of 8,700, 10,200, or 15,000 BTUs. And when you want to shut it off again, it's gone. The shadow box framing of the Westinghouse panel air conditioner makes it seem smaller than it is. That's the decorator touch, integral with the unit itself. May we touch it again? Match the wallpaper, paste it on. Match the paint, paint it on. The living room, the dining room, the decorated room window. Touch it with a Panel Air by Westinghouse, and the gold is yours. There's an air conditioner, a brute of an air conditioner. Unbelievably powerful, unbelievably quiet. Some of you said those were its only weaknesses as a producer of gold. It was unbelievable. It lacked the rugged look. Some people found it difficult to believe that the Southerner could pack more than 2 tons of power in its refined and delicate-looking cabinet. Change it, some of you said. We can't sell it when it looks too dainty to do a man's job. Don't touch it, some of you said. We need that furniture look to make it sell. So we didn't touch it. We left it in the line. But we added a touch. We gave that ladylike Southerner a tough-looking brother. They'll believe this one, the Westinghouse Super Heavy Duty, with a look that goes with the power it packs. 12, 18, 20, reversible or not, 23.5, 26,000 BTUs. The same quiet marvel as the Southerner, now with the rugged look, Super Heavy Duty. Touch a window with this one, and much gold is yours. There is a window that stands untouched in many homes because the family that would buy a room air conditioner will not pay to have it installed and cannot install it. Stalemate. Many such windows have been touched and turned to gold with the Westinghouse mobile frame. But don't touch it? Oh, let us touch that frame just once for 1966. There, good as gold. What it did is an integral part of the compacts. It will do as a mobile frame for the Mobile Airs, 16 or 22 inch. Exciting new Mylar wing and all. How simple. Now you can touch it. Touch it to the hands of those who wish to install their own, and they'll hand you the gold themselves. 3 compacts, Mobile Air 5000, Deluxe Mobile Air 5000, and Custom Mobile Air 6000. The biggest news since the people at Westinghouse captured the compact market. The exciting new sliding window unit, which not only fits them to perfection, but fits casement windows as well, superbly. Comes in 2 sizes, 5500 and 8000. There are 12 models in all to serve the middle market. Among them, 3 16-inch Deluxe Mobile Airs, 6000, 8200, and 9300 BTUs, and 4 high-capacity Mobile Airs from 10,200 to 17,000 BTUs. One of them has a particular magic about it. You knew it as a model that would remove 11,700 BTUs of heat per hour from a room. It would not have been honest to call it a 1-ton air conditioner, because a 1-ton unit must remove 12,000 BTUs per hour. And yet there are many buyers and prospects who will talk and want to be talked to in terms of tons. So we touched it. We beefed up the capacity, enlarged the evaporator, and now this high-capacity air conditioner in the middle of the line does remove 12,000 BTUs per hour. And you may use the magic words 1 ton at will. Use them on those who want them used, and they'll turn to golden words for you. And for the southern market, there are 4 reverse cycle heat and cool models, and 2 electric heat models ranging from 8,700 to 20,000 BTUs. 3 capacities for the stunning new Decorator Touch Panel Air, the one that isn't there until you want it. And to top the line, the Super Heavy Duty with the rugged look is available in 5 cooling models and a 20,000 BTU reverse heat and cool unit. Along with its sister, the Southerner, a 5-model line just as powerful, twice as dainty. The finest line of room air conditioners in Westinghouse or anyone else's history. The Westinghouse line of room air conditioners for 1966. Don't touch that line? We wouldn't think of touching it, other than here and there. There is no need to tell you gatherers of gold how to sell room air conditioners. You have already shown us that you have that golden touch. What we have done has been simply to provide you with the means. Use them well. Touch the right windows and the right people with them at the right time and in the right way. The ways you already know. And watch those windows turn to gold for you.
highway builders deserve a lot of credit for the job they've done to make modern roads safer and smoother. You can thank the automobile manufacturers, too. Year after year, they continue to come up with new improvements and better methods, all aimed to make driving more pleasant and comfortable. And the makers of tires have been keeping abreast with progress by developing better and better products to cushion the jars and jolts of high-speed driving. This young couple, Johnny and Patty Nesbitt, should be enjoying their weekend outing. But are they?
Hello, Patty.
Hi.
Johnny, they've just about given you up.
Blame it on Johnny. He's been complaining on how the car handled.
I don't get it. My hands feel like I've been holding a trip hammer. When I'm driving, this wheel seems to be vibrating like this. I know it isn't, but it sure seems to.
Maybe you're tired. Dad?
Hello, Patty.
Hi, Father Anderson.
Johnny?
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, Raj. There was a very nice write-up in the paper. How does it feel to have a father who's president of a big engineering firm?
Aren't your kids going to get out of that car and stay a while?
Sure.
Oh, excuse me.
Ma.
Hello, Mike. What tears you away from your oil, grease, and tires?
You and your daughter Shirley, of course. Thought you'd like to take a boat ride around the lake, but I see you have company.
Yes, some weekend guests. Come on. I'd like you to meet them.
Hi, Mike. This is Patty and Johnny Nesbitt. Mike is another president. He has a string of service stations from here to the coast.
Another of Shirley's exaggerations. Glad to meet you both.
Nice to meet you, Mike.
I dropped by to see if Roger and Shirley here would like to do a little boating. How about joining in?
Oh, well, thanks, but I think I've had enough riding for one day.
Johnny's getting old. He's falling apart.
Oh, the car's falling apart.
This your car? Looks in good shape.
Well, sure, but darned if I know what it is, but it gets me in the hands and the back.
Out-of-balance wheels are a common cause for your complaint. I had the same trouble. Why don't you bring Johnny down to the main station tomorrow morning? I'll look it over.
Good idea. Around 9 o'clock. Now, how about a swim in the pool? I'm sure Johnny and Patty'd like to relax.
Oh, yeah.
That's a deal.
Thanks, Roger, but I want to check out my new outboard. You old folks relax by the pool. I'll see you tomorrow. See you all.
Bye-bye, Mike.
So long, Mike. I'll help you in with your grips. The girls can change into their swim talk. Well, do you feel better now?
Like a couple other guys.
All the kinks gone.
Smooth as silk. You know, there's one thing that still bothers me, though.
Oh? What's that?
What Mike was saying about my wheels being out of balance. That's not an old car.
Well, I don't think the age of the car has anything to do with it. All wheels and tires vary slightly, and the smallest variation will make all the difference in the world. Mike really knows his business, and he'll tell you that there's unbalance and unbalance. There's wheel balancing, and there's wheel balancing. Come here, I think I can share. Come on over here. Runs nice and smooth, doesn't it? Now here's what happens when a wheel's out of balance.
A A wheel in motion may be affected by a force called kinetic unbalance. It causes an up and down vibration. On a car, this vibration is transmitted to the driver. He gets the full effect of road shocks. Hard on the fanny and mighty tiring. Now, watch. When the unbalance is on the side of the wheel, a different movement is noticeable, side to side. This is dynamic unbalance, side to side. And like up and down unbalance, it not only affects the driver, but damages sensitive front end systems. The driver of a car with power steering might not feel these vibrations, but his car still would be taking terrific punishment. The hooker to this whole balanced wheel business is that when the wheel is stationary, like this, it may seem to be balanced. But once it's spinning, an out of balance condition becomes obvious.
You mean that little bit of unbalance could be the cause of all my troubles?
Exactly. The least bit of... Well, now, where do you girls think you're going?
I'm going to show Patty that new antique shop. We'll be back in a half hour.
Listen, honey, you promised not to buy any more of those monstrosities.
Cross my heart.
Well, looks like we've been thrown over for a junk shop full of antiques. What do you say we get into the house?
Provided you finish that story about unbalance.
So deal? Let's go. So you see, with today's sensitive front-end systems and high-speed performance, even a little unbalance is quite noticeable. Chances are your car's in this condition. That's why your ride was so uncomfortable. Come here.
Now, these three circles represent the different wheel sizes of cars, past and present. A few years ago, car wheels were 18 inches in diameter. Recent models had 15-inch wheels. But most of today's car wheels are only 14 inches. You can see that this smaller wheel must turn a lot more revolutions than the other wheels in order to cover the same distance. If you remember your high school physics, you know that centrifugal force will be greater on this smaller, faster-moving wheel. This accentuates unbalance. Assume, for example, there's just a 4-ounce difference on a wheel assemblage. At 20 miles an hour, the pounding force of this unbalance is about 4 pounds. Now, if you increase the speed to 60 miles an hour, the pounding force is increased to nearly 45 pounds. This is the up and down unbalance that wears out parts like bearings and shock absorbers, overheats tires to the danger point, and causes driver fatigue, the major cause of accidents. The new, wider, low-pressure tire forces the point of unbalance farther away from the center of the wheel, causing side-to-side vibration. And with the wider rim section, this vibration is amplified and transmitted to the car, even to the driver. Add to this the modern ornate hubcap, and you've got more reason for a wheel getting out of balance.
Now, if there's unbalance along here, you get side-to-side vibration. Dynamic unbalance.
I never realized the importance of wheel balancing.
Few people do. Here come the girls. Uh-oh, Johnny, you're going to need real strength.
How come?
You look. I'll get the ice.
Oh, there we are. Well, that was great. Yo.
Oh, no.
Morning, Raj, Johnny.
Morning, Mike. Here's your patient. Look, when you're finished here, pick me up at the office, will you, Johnny?
Right, Roger.
Good.
Well, let's see if old Doc Middleton still knows his stuff.
Don't tell me you can spot the trouble just by looking at the tires.
Well, not quite. The tires could tell just as much of a story as fingerprints to an FBI man. Let me show you a couple of tires on their way to the junkie.
This one got old before its time. Look how it's cupped out. Chances are the wheel was out of balance. The tire hit the pavement hard at this spot with every revolution because of this up and down unbalance. Here's another with the story in the tread. Notice how the rubber seems to have been dragged laterally? Actually, it probably was. That can be a sign of unbalance too, side to side, or dynamic unbalance. Both kinds are murder to a car. I'll show you what can happen through this neglect. Here's a shock absorber with the life beaten out of it. This bearing had to be replaced, perhaps for the same reason, beaten to death with constant pounding caused by unbalanced wheels. Just to show you what happens to the front end, this constant pounding can force lubricants out of the bearings. It doesn't take too long to ruin a sensitive front end system. Unbalanced wheels easily might be the cause of loose moldings, door rattles, and other irritating noises. The way to avoid them is with periodic front end alignment.
Jess, will you bring that wheel balancer over here and check Mr. Nesbitt's car?
Okay, Mike.
Like everything else in the automotive industry, wheel balancing has improved too. Bubble balancers, off-the-car spindle balancers, and now the most modern method, on-the-car electronic wheel balancing. I think that's the best ever.
Correct balancing can only be accomplished by balancing all the wheel's moving parts as one. The vibration pickup is in the vertical position. That's the spinner. It spins the wheel at all driving speeds, and the pickup then catches the slightest variation of up and down or kinetic unbalance. This electronic balancer puts all the answers right at your fingertips. The operator now knows the amount of unbalance, how much weight is needed, and where it must be added. The job is done without removing the wheel or adding any gadgets to the wheel assembly. And the operator proved that the wheel has been properly balanced. The operator balances the wheel for up and down unbalance. Then he turns the pickup to check on side-to-side unbalance. Basically the same procedure.
It's quick, positive. Come on, I'll let you buy me a Coke while Jess finishes the job.
It's a deal.
Very few people realize the importance of wheel balancing. The modern automobile gets less attention than any other type of precision machinery.
I can believe that.
And it's such a simple matter. Periodic checkups, wheel balancing every 5,000 miles, or when you rotate the tires. Wheels should be balanced also when you put a new tire on. I make it a must to balance every wheel assembly when I sell a tire. I use this method to show my customers their wheels are balanced before they leave. It ends customer complaints. And it also brings in new customers. Well, your car should be ready now.
That's quicker than getting a haircut.
And much longer lasting. Looks like you're ready to roll, Johnny.
You mean no more of this?
No more of this. We balance all four wheels. Come into the office and I'll write you a job ticket.
Fine. Thanks, Jess.
I'm sure you'll have no more trouble.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, Jess, one more balancing job and another $8 in the till.
Right, another satisfied customer.
Welcome to the Glass Bottle Blowers exhibit at the Union Industry Show in Philadelphia. I am Lee W. Minton, International President of the Glass Bottle Blowers Association. My purpose is to tell you about the show and our exhibit here. The Union Industry Show was formed to create an interest in the purchase of union-made goods. I would now like to have you meet Mr. Edwin Tobin, who is representing Mr. Matthew Wall, President of the Union Label Trades Department of the AFL and Director of the show. Nice to see you, Ed.
Congratulations, President Minton, on this very outstanding exhibit, which is one of the great exhibits of the hundreds of displays here at this Union Industry Show. The terrific audience interest and participation in your exhibit clearly indicates that the people of America are interested in the aptitudes, the abilities, the skills, and the outstanding craftsmanship of the fine people who make up the Glass Bottle Blowers Association.
Thank you, Ed. Now I'd like to have you witness some of our displays. The first is our puppet show of the Gail and Doug Anderson's Puppeteers. Our purpose in this particular part of the show is to popularize the use of the one-way beer bottle, the no-deposit bottle, and the glass container. Here are the puppets. Now your last line.
That was a fine little lunch my wife packed for me. That sandwich had just about everything on it but a bottle of beer. What's that? For a minute I thought I heard a voice.
That's a good one.
Now, see here. Whoever you are and wherever you are, who do you think you are?
Who, me? I'm the new lightweight champ.
The lightweight champ? That is a good one. You're so light I can't even see you.
Oh, no. Well, what's that?
Holy smoke. Are you for real?
You bet I am. I'm real and tough, too. What's my new windmill punch?
Okay, champ. Okay. I believe you. I believe you. Whatever your name is.
Willie One Way is the name, Mr. Worker.
Well, Mr. Willie One Way, you may be a champ, but I'm a champ, too.
You are?
I most certainly am. I'm an American Union worker, and I and my 8 million brothers and sisters in the AFL are all champions.
Oh, yeah? Who says so?
Why, the whole world says so. Our production is the highest in the entire world, and our standard of living is above any other nation on earth. We're not only champs, but heroes as well.
Gosh, you're a hero, too?
Certainly. During the war, we American workers helped to lick the enemies of freedom, and you can bet your bottle caps that we'll work together to build a great, big, prosperous America. Now, what were you saying about being a champ, son?
Well, what I meant was, I'm really a champ in my own particular field. You see, I was born only a few years ago. In fact, I was made by a worker in the glass industry who looked a lot like you.
Oh, he must have been a member of the Glass Blowers Association of the American Federation of Labor.
Yes, he was. And speaking of the Glass Blowers Association, they make up 38,000 of the 8 million members of the AFL, and not many people realize that they turn out 100 million gross of glass containers every year.
That's fine, Willie One Way, but tell me, why were you made in the lightweight size?
All right, don't rush me. You see, I was made because folks everywhere were asking for a beer bottle, which they wouldn't have to lug back to the store when it was empty. So, Willie One Way was born.
But I thought it cost more money to buy beer in one-way bottles than it did in cans.
Oh, that's where you're wrong. Beer in the new one-way no-deposit bottles is actually cheaper than in cans, and they are 100% AFL union made.
Well, Willie One Way, with that background, you must be a champ and plenty strong for a little guy.
You bet I'm strong, Mr. Worker. Why, I can hold up 1,000 pounds all by myself.
1,000 pounds? Gee whiz.
Sure, and to prove it, 4 of my brothers are sitting right back of me holding up a 3,000-pound automobile. Why, I could hold up 6 anvils, a piano, and 2 mother-in-laws with one hand, and,
lunch is over. I must rush back to work, Willie One Way, so I'll be seeing you. So long, Willie One Way. I'll be seeing you.
You sure will be seeing me, Mr. Worker. And so will you folks. You'll be seeing me at your favorite grocer's. But right now, you're going to see a big brother of mine. His name is Mickey Milk Bottle. Well, Mickey Milk Bottle, it's all yours.
Mickey Milk Bottle is a real fine Joe. He says, Mrs. Housewife, a lot of dough. I'm a real clear-cut guy, and you're best buy, so of course you know who is the star of our show. Oh, hello, folks. I feel great today. I just had a good hot bath, and I'm just as clean as can be. Everybody everywhere says that I'm the cleanest container for milk that money can buy. Okay, Bossy, I'll tell him. That was my friend Bossy the cow, reminding me to tell you that milk in the glass bottle is just as clean and wholesome as it is when she gives it to the milkman. Oh, yes, sirree. I'm some boy. Oh, for the cream in your coffee or the milk in your glass, you can depend on it. I'm always first class.
What in the world is all this racket? Do you want to wake up my baby?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Housewife. I was just telling the folks what a jim-dandy fellow I am.
Why, Mickey Milk Bottle, that sounds like boasting to me.
All I said was that I'm the best and cleanest and handsomest milk container in the world.
Oh, I guess you're handsome, all right. But you're not the only container on the shelf. I can't see why a glass bottle is better than any other container.
Why, Mrs. Housewife, don't you know that glass is the only container which is sterilized before being filled?
It is, really?
Oh, of course. You ought to see the way they scrub and rinse me over and over again for 25 minutes. And immediately they fill me up with milk so the germs don't have a chance to get in.
You may be a sanitary fellow, but you're an awful braggart.
Oh, of course I am. After all, I have the pleasure of serving the nicest housewives in the whole world. Ladies like you.
Mickey Milk Bottle, you're just using the old Blarney. Flattery will get you nowhere. I can see right through you.
That's why I'm so popular with the ladies. They can all see right through me. Being made of glass, I'm a very transparent guy. It's obvious when I'm full to the brim with rich, creamy milk.
Yes, and I can see just how much cream you have, too.
Yes, sirree, I'm a real ladies' man, a crystal clear Casanova.
But what I need now is a homogenized John J. Anthony. I have a problem.
No problem is too big for Mickey Milk Bottle. I am at your service.
It all happened this way. Last night, I was all upset because when I went to my refrigerator, where I had, I hate to admit this, a cardboard container of milk, I found it was empty. I was out of milk, and the stores were closed, and my husband was so angry that he threatened to leave me.
Is that your problem?
Yes, he's the only husband I have.
Why, that's no problem at all. Just make sure that you pick up one of my brothers in the glass milk bottle family the next time you shop. You'll always be able to see right through us and tell exactly how much milk you have on hand. And that will solve your problem and save your husband as well.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Milk Bottle. You're really a darling. Are there any more at home like you?
Are there? It's the biggest and nicest family that you've ever seen. I have brothers and sisters in every grocery store in the land, sitting on shelves proudly stuffed full of scrumptious things. In fact, with every goodie imaginable.
Oh, I forgot about my baby. It's time for his dinner.
And I can help out with that, too. Now, just you reach behind that curtain, Mrs. Housewife, and see what you find.
It's a glass jar of baby food, the kind that my little tot loves.
Yes, indeed. Millions of infants thrive on applesauce, pears, beef liver, and other yummy foods in glass jars.
Oh, I know all about baby foods packed in glass jars. It's the only way that it's packed around here. But I have to feed my baby now. Goodbye, Mr. Milk Bottle.
Goodbye, Mrs. Housewife. Well, folks, that's about all I have to say, except goodbye to all of you, and remember that it's always first class if it's packed in glass. Here's a scene we took while this show was on. Watch the expressions on the faces of these kids. Both parents and kids love puppets. Television stations took pictures of the glassworkers exhibit and broadcast them on 50 television stations throughout the country.
As we go to our next display, I want you to meet one of the grandest men in the labor movement, Jim Maloney, who led our union from 1924 to 1946, still active as President Emeritus. How are you, Jim?
Why, Lee, I'm fine, and may I congratulate you personally upon this fine exhibit here. It's educational, in addition to the splendid job you have been doing since you've been elevated to the presidency of our union. And everybody, of course, is familiar with the great strides you have made in securing improved working conditions and better wages for our people. I'm very happy to be here, Lee.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Here is a very interesting display which proves that milk packed in glass bottles is sterile for not only the mothers but the babies. And over to my left, you will see a very beautiful display of glass-packed foods and a sign which displays the advantages and tells the story of the products packed in glass.
Here we have a 30-inch glass bottle from which the water keeps pouring continuously. The puzzle is, how does the water get into the bottle in order to make it pour 12 hours each day? The sign points out that there is no guesswork when you buy foods and beverages in glass. Here is our one-way bottle display. Many people don't know that you can buy beer in no-deposit bottles at a lower cost than beer in cans. Old-time brewers will tell you that beer tastes better in bottles, and you don't have to take the bottles back. All you do is throw them away when you get through with them, just as you do with cans. Let's take a look at the Kaiser sedan given away the last night of the show to a lucky visitor to our exhibit. Over 100,000 people filled out entry blanks for this contest. We originally planned to have this car supported on 4 no-deposit bottles. However, due to the large crowds at the show and the possibility of someone being injured if the car were pushed by an inquisitive spectator, we removed the bottles. You know how people always touch wet paint to see if it is wet? Someone might have pushed the car just to see if it would wobble. Here is a picture that we took before removing the bottles showing this 3,150-pound sedan supported on 4 lightweight, no-deposit bottles. Part of the union exhibit is a display of hand-blown bottles. Here is an interesting bottle and an interesting girl, too, which dates back to the Civil War. The bottle, we mean, not the girl. On one side is the word union, and on the other side it shows an eagle. Here is the famous Pike's Peak bottle. It was made to commemorate the gold rush of 1859 in Colorado. It shows a weary prospector with a spade in one hand and a gun in the other. The third bottle carries the figure of George Washington, the father of our country. During Jim Maloney's years of service, he saw the machine take the place of the glass blower. However, the Glass Blowers Bottle Association has grown since the advent of the machine. In 1920, the union had 10,000 members, whereas today we have over 38,000.
The Union Label Trades Department of the American Federation of Labor has made this show possible to prove to the 500,000 visitors that union-made products are the best. However, the real credit for this production belongs to the members of the Glass Bottle Blowers Association who made our participation in this giant exhibit possible. Always remember our slogan in the future, the simple saying, it's always first class if packed in glass.
They can start now. I'm here. They're waiting for you. You can go right in.
Thanks, Nancy. Come in, Warren. Just getting started. You men are probably wondering why I called you together today. We spent so much time talking about how to approach a customer, how to get his attention, how to make a presentation, how to close. What else could there be to selling? Well, today I don't want to discuss any of the economic or logical reasons people buy. I want to talk about those things that aren't strictly business. In the past, we've talked about the one-to-one relationship between the customer and the salesman. And as we well know, the impact of the salesman's personality on the customer is one of the most important influences at work during the sale. But there are other strong influences from around the customer. People. People the salesman may never meet. The customer's boss, the men who work with him on his own level, and even the people who work for him, whose opinions he feels are important.
But what about the real boss, his wife?
Oh, why deny it? And there are other influences within the customer himself. Now, these are the many personal needs people try to satisfy when buying. Things they want out of their work in addition to money. For some, recognition is most important. In others, status, security, feeling of accomplishment. And there are many others. This is the customer's world. These are the things that influence him. The same things influence you and everybody. Now, bearing in mind these three areas, the influences within the customer, the influences around him, and how he's affected by the interaction between himself and the salesman, how do these influences show themselves in the sales interview when you're face to face with the customer?
Naturally, no one's going to come right out and say, I want security, or more power, or I don't like your approach. You have to sense these things and look for clues in what he might say, and even in what he doesn't say.
Well, if you watch a customer's reaction, you can learn a lot. There are so many customers who will agree with everything you say when you know they have reservations.
I know just the man you're talking about, Mike Conley. When I saw him last week, I could have sworn I'd get a purchase order with no trouble at all. This morning, he canceled.
I've labeled that one the agreeable reaction. The customer is very pleasant, and seldom are there any objections. You're led to think that you have the sale all tied up.
What's the hidden influence there?
It may mean that he's avoiding conflict. He wants to be liked and accepted. Now, next, there's the silent reaction. Now, here, the customer hasn't got much to say, but he clams up entirely if you ask him any pointed questions. Third, there's the indecisive reaction. When the customer can't make up his mind, keeps putting the decision off.
You must be talking about Mr. Raymond.
The one who keeps you coming back with more information.
Uh-huh.
And we're talking about Mr. Raymond. Now, it's very possible that he's afraid to make a mistake. He thinks he finds a little security in postponing the decision. Now, here's a very different one. The expert reaction.
You mean like Mr. Lewis?
Yes. Tell us what he's like.
Well, he won't listen to anything I have to say. He thinks he knows more about our products than I do.
It seems to fit our description. Talkative, knows it all. And then we have the aggressive reaction. I guess all of us have had customers who are pretty rude, like to throw their weight around.
An occupational hazard.
Unfortunately. Finally, we come to the complaining reaction. Now, here again, the customer's afraid to make a decision, but he excuses himself by finding fault with your product, your company. Seems to want to make you feel guilty.
Well, don't you think that's a little pat? You can't pigeonhole people.
These are reactions, not people. And I've labeled them just for convenience so that we could talk about them. Now, they can tell you when the customer is avoiding making a decision and can give you some hints why. Whether the influence is between you, within the customer, or around him, or a combination of any of these.
Well, I do all right with most of these reactions, but, well, to be perfectly honest, I just can't close a sale with a man who's indecisive. I just can't get him to make up his mind.
It's funny, I don't have any problem there. My real downfall is the expert reaction. It makes me boil when a man won't let me get a word in edgewise.
Well, if you think that's bad, how about the silent treatment? You can't figure out what a man's thinking. Well, now, any one of us can handle most of these reactions, or we wouldn't be salesmen. But each of you has been indicating that you're having trouble working with at least one. Naturally, if you can round out your ability to work with all of these reactions, well, you can improve your total effectiveness and increase your sales, right? Now, together, I think we can work out some answers, some general approaches to handling these reactions. Any suggestions?
I learned about the silent reaction the hard way. Look, first of all, don't be trapped into doing all the talking yourself. And stay away from pointed questions that might embarrass him.
Hello, Mr. Conley. This is Tom Reed. I got a message this morning that you were no longer interested in our program, and I just wanted to be sure that someone hadn't slipped up. Well, I better come over and see if I can help straighten this thing out. You know, it's no trouble. Your account is very important to our company, and I'm anxious to get this thing clarified as soon as I can. Well, thank you, Mr. Conley. I'll see you at 4. I'm glad you were able to see me, Mr. Conley, and I'll come straight to the point. I got your cancellation this morning. What went wrong? Well, there is one thing I want to be sure of. I didn't say anything to offend you, did I?
No.
Well, I'm relieved to hear that. When I walked out of your office, I thought you and I really understood each other. I thought we decided on a 2-year program to include all your divisions. Why, you even said you liked our operation when you visited our home office on your last trip. I didn't step out of line somehow.
No, of course not. Certainly there's nothing personal about this.
Well, I do remember you mentioning barring any emergency. Did something of that nature come up? Well, if it did, you could have called me. I would have understood. Emergencies do occur. There are some things that can't be avoided. Then someone must not have liked our arrangements. Is there something in the schedule that's wrong? Now, look, Mr. Conley, I'd like to work with you on this. If there's something wrong, I wish you'd just come right out and tell me. I'm sure it's not anything that we can't straighten out. Do you think one of your divisions might have come up with a... Excuse me.
Hello? Yes, Jim. Well, I've already done that. Yes, I'm finally beginning to see daylight.
How can you sell a man when he won't tell you what he's thinking? I've always had trouble when a man won't talk. There's nothing worse than silence. What was it Ken said at our sales meeting that he'd learned about dealing with the silent reaction?
I learned how to deal with the silent reaction the hard way. Look, first of all, don't be trapped into doing all the talking yourself. And stay away from pointed questions that might tend to embarrass him. Bring him out by asking open-ended questions. Questions you're sure are subjects that he knows something about. Questions that he won't answer with yes or no, and then clam up again. I've got the catalog right here. Right. Tomorrow's fine. Sorry.
That's all right, Mr. Conley. You buyers have so many things to keep track of. How do you do it?
It's no picnic.
How do you keep up with things? I can hardly do it, and I represent only one company. You must deal with hundreds.
That's right. And each company has 100 different things they want to sell.
How do you remember everything?
You have to be organized. It takes a system.
System? What kind?
Well, there are all kinds. Mine is something I've worked up over the years, but it'll take a little while before it'll get going. Here.
I can see you've made some progress.
Well, it's taken a few nights, but it's getting there.
I know. It takes me a couple of weeks to get caught up after I've been away.
Sure put me behind. But it's important. I like to know every company I buy from, personally.
Our people feel the same way. We try very hard to get to know each of our customers.
Do you?
I feel that's the most interesting thing about my job, getting to know people.
It's too bad all of your salesmen don't feel the same way.
How do you mean?
Well, it's not important.
No, I'd really like to know why you feel that way.
Well, it's quite a contrast. Your company's rolling out the red carpet. Suddenly, they can't do enough for me. I wonder if the fact that I am now with a big company has something to do with their sudden interest.
You were with a smaller company before?
Yes, Harrison Brothers in Ohio. I could hardly get a salesman to call.
You feel you didn't get very good service?
Well, he didn't call very often.
Maybe he didn't want to bother you.
I say he didn't seem very interested.
Well, possibly he didn't want to give you the impression that he was trying to pressure you.
I never looked at it that way. Yes. Mm-hmm.
He sure feels we slighted him on the last job. And on top of that, he's under a lot of pressure. To place the order because he's behind, not to make a mistake because he's new in the job. And here I am adding more pressure to get my order. That's why he was so agreeable and then canceled. What did Ken say about that reaction?
Don't put on too much pressure. Encourage and accept his objections. You've got to help him feel the decision is his. And so you know he's not agreeing to avoid conflict, be sure to check his conviction. All right, that's fine. Right. Goodbye.
I want to thank you for taking this time with me. If it's more convenient for you, I'd be happy to set up another appointment. I want you to have all the time this needs. There's no reason to work under pressure with me.
It's a relief to know you feel that way, Tom.
There's been so much to do, so many people to see. It's important for both of us to get off on the right foot.
Exactly. I'm happy to hear you say that because there's something else that's been bothering me.
What's that?
Well, to tell the truth, I was under so much pressure when I got back from that trip. I didn't want any more.
Well, that makes sense. I don't blame you for holding up under those conditions. As a matter of fact, I can understand the way you feel perfectly.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that impression when you first visited me.
Well, seeing all these catalogs spread all over the place and that basket overflowing, I should have understood and waited for you to get things in shape.
Well, I've almost got things to where I want them now.
Whenever you feel you're ready, just give us the word. There's no rush.
That's the way I like to do business, Tom. There's just one point I'd still like to get cleared up. Would it be better to break our program down on a monthly or semi-monthly basis?
I'd say monthly. That's the way it's been working out best.
Here, let me note that on the requisition. Actually, that's all I need to know. Why don't we get started? You'll get the confirmation later.
Here's a summary of our proposal. Will you see that I have everything complete?
Is this what we decided on?
Yes, that's right. Is there anything else?
No, it looks all right to me. Why don't we get started?
Well, if you feel you're ready, we are. All I need is a purchase order number to get things rolling.
Well, I'm far enough behind as it is. I'd like to get this off my desk. Let's see now, the PO number is 473862. Yes, Mr. Raymond, I'll be happy to come out again as many times as necessary. No trouble at all. I want you to be satisfied that this is the right thing for you. We'll give it as much time as you need. Yeah, fine. Thanks, bye.
Well, Ken, this makes the fourth time you're here. I don't like putting you off, but I don't know. I just don't know. They all look good. What do you think?
It all depends on you, Mr. Raymond. Any one of these will do the job.
I suppose so. There's something to be said for all of them. If we could only combine the best parts of each.
Say, that might be the answer. Let's look at these again.
Oh, let me clear off this place for you here. Oh, maybe we'd be more comfortable at the table, do you think?
Doesn't matter.
Well, all right, it's up to you.
Now, here are all the proposals.
Let's see. If we take this idea and combine it with the last half. Oh, no, this won't work. Now, wait a minute. This might be better. There's one section here. Here it is. This is closest to what we have now. Oh, this is too complicated for one man. I better show it to my partner. I'm not sure he'll want to change suppliers anyway.
Oh, just a minute, Mr. Raymond. Why bother your partner? You're the man who knows this part of the business. I'm sure he'll be agreeable with whatever you do.
It's about time he pitches in on this, too. I'm doing too much as it is.
But this isn't that difficult. It'll make things easier.
Now, if I don't show it to him now, he'll find something wrong with it later. If he doesn't like it, I'm the one that's going to hear about it, not you. You're only going to collect your commission. And then we won't be able to find you. You're just like my partner.
You know me better than that.
All you salesmen are alike. I had one in here last week promising me the same things you did. You know, everybody makes promises and nobody keeps them.
Well, I can't be responsible for the other salesmen, but I give you my word, I'll keep my promises.
All right, so maybe you're different. But with business conditions what they are, who can afford expensive plans?
Expensive? These are designed to save you money.
Now, since when is your company so interested in saving me money? Since when do companies ever worry about the little guy?
Mr. Raymond, there are many businesses smaller than yours using all of these plans.
I'm not even going to discuss it further until I talk to my partner. Well, I can't do this all on my own. I'd never hear the end of it.
Yeah, if you think it'll help, why don't you get your partner?
Well, I don't know that it'll help, but let's see what he has to say about it.
What did I say to make him react that way? He's sure finding fault and looking for sympathy. Oh, the complaining reaction.
I've found that you have to let a man get his complaints off his chest. Be sympathetic, but don't take his complaints personally. Don't feel at fault or get defensive. Once he's expressed himself, he's very often likely to go on to other things and get down to business.
Well, couldn't find him as usual.
Does this happen very often?
Whenever I need him, he's never around.
Business like this is quite a job for one man.
It is, believe me. And it's beginning to tell on me, too.
It's too bad your partner doesn't help you with some of these important decisions.
Well, I ran this business long before I took him in.
But now that you've built it up to the size it is today, I can see where it would be nice to have someone to help carry the load.
I don't mean to give you the impression that he doesn't do anything.
You know, it's always very exciting to me to see a business grow like yours. It must give you a great deal of satisfaction.
It does. Of course it does.
Your partner was a lucky man to have come into the business when it was growing.
Well, I guess we're both lucky. He's got a very good background.
Oh, by the way, did you find out what time he'd be back?
Well, there's no telling. We've got a very important contract coming up. He's out on it now. And it may take him some time to close the deal.
When do you expect to hear from him?
Well, not for some time. It's a very complicated deal.
Yeah, hope he closes it.
Don't worry. He always does.
Sounds like a pretty good combination with you on the inside and him on the outside.
Well, I guess we do kind of complement each other. You know, I'd like to get this set. It'd be a great help.
Well, there's no reason we can't settle on something.
Well, maybe you're right. Let me look at these plans again. Now, as I recall, we took this idea and half this last half one here, and then we...
Well, at least we're back where we started. And he seems to have gained some confidence in me. Apparently his partner really runs the show, and he's afraid to make a move without him. He sure wants to hide that. Anyway, I'm glad he was able to get his complaints off his chest. Now, maybe with a little reassurance, he'll feel secure enough to make a decision. What did Warren say to do with the indecisive fence-sitting reaction?
When you're faced with the indecisive reaction, don't give him too many alternatives to choose from. What I do is eliminate most of the choices and make a strong recommendation for one. When a man is very indecisive, you almost have to make the decision for him.
Mr. Raymond, I have a thought. I think I just might have the answer for you.
Well, that's good. I'm glad somebody has.
Well, now these first two plans, well, they're just too much work. I wouldn't even want you to consider them at all.
You sure?
Yes, you see, I didn't fully understand your position before, but now I'm sure that they're much too detailed for your present operation.
They sure are. We've got too much to worry about already.
Well, now, if you want to cut your load, your answer isn't either one of these two plans.
They both do seem to have possibilities. This is closer to the one we have now.
No, of the two, it'll be the easiest to put in, something you could handle yourself.
Well, might as well face it. I will have to handle it myself.
You know, I've helped install this plan many times. Between the two of us, we could have it in no time.
Well, this one does seem the most practical. I like it.
You're right, it is the most practical. You know, if we could get started right away, I could devote some extra time to it.
Oh, that'd be a great help.
Good.
You know, it's a good thing my partner wasn't here.
Why?
Because with the two of us here, it takes even longer to make a decision.
You say you have some changes in your specifications. Some improvement. You know, it's getting pretty late. Oh, a new idea? At your home tonight. Yeah. All right, Mr. Lewis. I'll see you at 8.
And that's the reason I called you over to the house tonight. I want to incorporate these ideas in our order. There's no point in being the same as everybody else, and it's good for your company to keep up with the times. You just can't put out the same thing year after year. Now, what I've suggested, it seems to me, fits right into your operation.
But
don't worry about the costs. The important thing is getting the job done and meeting your competition. Same thing in our business. Take it from me.
I agree with you, but now, have you considered...
I have considered every angle. And I just can't sign this the way it is. But if you made these changes, we could talk business.
You feel these changes are absolutely necessary?
Absolutely.
Well, I can talk to my sales manager about it, but I don't think it can be done this way.
I don't see why not. You've got the facilities, the manpower, the technical know-how. Why, there's nothing here that you can't do, and at a profit.
We've been instructed that changes of these kind are very costly, and that they don't add to the market value or improve performance.
You salesmen are all the same. You think you know all the answers. Well, let me tell you, the only way you're going to improve anything is to make these changes.
In my opinion, Mr. Lewis, these suggestions aren't going to get you what you're looking for.
How long have you been in this business? I've been in it 20 years. You've been in it, what, 5?
I didn't mean any disrespect, Mr. Lewis.
That's a fine thing. You're invited to a man's house, ready to do business, and you won't even listen. They tell you to do this in sales meetings. If you're not going to have an open mind about this, I don't know whether I want to do business with you at all. Wait here a minute. I've got an article I wrote. Maybe that'll get through to you.
An article? What I need is an aspirin. He sure knows how to throw his weight around.
I can tell you what I do when I run into the aggressive reaction. I stand my ground. I never apologize. If you don't stand up for yourself in a friendly kind of way, they have no respect for you or your company.
What's the matter?
Mr. Lewis, you're angry now. This is no time to discuss business. We both might regret it.
Now, just a minute. I sent for you. I haven't got time to play games.
This is no game, Mr. Lewis. I just don't think it'd be fair to you or your suggestions to make any decisions at this time. Now, why don't we just make an appointment after we've had a chance to sleep on it?
I haven't got any time for other appointments. We'd better thrash this thing out tonight.
Well, in that case, let's try again.
Good.
I'm sure there's nothing we can't work out. Let's start at the beginning. As I understand it, you're mainly concerned with improving performance.
Exactly. That's the whole point. I'm not trying to force you people into extra costs on this thing. All I want is for you to see the importance, as I have indicated here, of keeping up with the time.
Well, I can't deny it's important to both of us to keep up with our competition.
I visited your operation last year and saw the possibilities. Why, with your know-how, your facilities, your personnel, these suggestions will fit right in.
I'm beginning to see what you're driving at.
If there's anybody that can do it, it's your company.
Well, Mr. Lewis, I guess I don't know all the answers.
None of us do, Warren.
Mr. Lewis, let me do this. I want to read this article. I'd like to take your suggestions back and present them to my people. Now, we've got some thinking to do.
Yes, you do that. And if I can be of any help, I'll just call on me.
I didn't get thrown out, but it was pretty close. What do I do now? You know, he thinks he knows more about our business than both of us put together.
Didn't you recognize his reaction?
The one I always have the problem with, the expert.
Right. But don't sell Mr. Lewis short, Warren. He knows his business. Apparently, though, his strongest emotional need is for prestige and power. Now, he's only suggesting these changes because he wants to make himself feel important. We'll soon see his ideas aren't practical if we can get him to re-examine them more carefully.
Okay, boss. So what's my next move?
Well, as we said at the sales meeting, make him feel important. You've got to solicit his advice, ask his opinion.
You mean there's some opinions that he left out?
Well, there's one important thing he did overlook.
What's that?
And the time it'll take to change over. What's going to happen to him during the lag?
Why didn't I think of that?
Well, when you're in a rough spot like that, you can't think of everything.
But do you think that he'll admit that he was wrong?
Well, yes, if you give him a way to save face, to bow out gracefully. After all, he doesn't want to be left with a headache.
No, neither do I. Tonight, it's either him or me.
Okay, but don't win the battle and lose the war.
I was particularly impressed with this point in your article. Good. Mr. Lewis, we've done a lot of thinking about your suggestions, and maybe we have some answers.
Well, I hope you people came up with something concrete.
Well, you were right. Your suggestions wouldn't affect the cost.
Of course not. They'd pay for themselves.
I went over everything with my boss, and we worked out a tentative schedule of the changes.
Oh? What did John think of the idea?
Oh, he thought it was very good.
Well, it takes a good man to see a good idea.
Very true.
And that's one of the most important responsibilities of a manager.
I'll remember that.
What do you mean? You in for a promotion?
No, not yet anyway.
Well, don't take a backseat to anybody. You've got to be in there all the time. You got to keep thinking, come up with new ideas. Let them know you're around.
Well, your people should certainly sit up and take notice of this idea of yours.
No doubt.
Before going ahead, we'd like to get your opinion on a few of the details.
Good. I'm glad to see you're not overlooking anything. As I always say to my boss, it's one thing to come up with an idea, but the real test is following through on all the details.
Now, one of the details we'd like to get your opinion on is the timing. Here.
Timing, yes. That's a very important factor.
This is our lead time and the lag during the changeover period.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean anything to your operation?
No, that's reasonable. 4 months, huh?
Anything wrong?
No. I was just thinking out loud. This timing is very important when you make a change.
That's right.
It's almost as dangerous to change too soon as it is too late.
Yeah, there's nothing sadder than seeing a good idea fall flat in its face just because it's released too soon, is it?
Warren, I'm concerned. You sure you're going to take this much time to make the changeover?
It would take most companies even longer.
Say, this isn't going to put you fellas in a spot, is it?
Well, it's not going to be easy.
4 months, huh?
At best.
You'll never make it.
Why not?
You just can't expect people to be at their best under these conditions. Something always suffers.
Well, I agree with you. It's a big risk.
Well, I'm not going to take it.
In that case, we could handle your regular order immediately.
Are you sure?
Oh, absolutely.
Good. Then I'll go along with you. I don't mind saying this takes quite a load off of my mind.
Well, we certainly wouldn't want to cause you any headaches, Mr. Lewis.
Well, I wouldn't want to cause you any headaches either, Warren.
In that case, I won't have to use these.
Oh, God. Howdy. You here to see the new line?
Yes. This is my first showing.
Oh.
It should be very interesting.
Well, you'll find it's the best way to keep up to date. Now, I've been coming here for more years than I care to count.
Oh, pardon me. You're Mr. Raymond.
That's right.
I should have introduced you, gentlemen. This is Mr. Conley of Universal Corporation.
How do you do? How do you do?
Mr. Lewis of Intronics.
How do you do, sir?
Mr. Raymond of Raymond Carson. I'll tell Mr. Franklin you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I guess we're all here for the same thing.
Or did that long-distance telephone call come through yet?
No, sir. But Mr. Conley, Raymond, and Lewis are waiting.
You better take this out of here. And tell him I'll be just a minute.
Get your down. All right, fine. Boy, it's kind of warm out today, wasn't it?
Certainly is. I rather like the change.
Yeah, well.
Mr. Franklin will be with you in a moment.
Oh, all right. I hope this won't take too long. Somebody has to watch the store, you know.
I know what you mean. Say, take a look at this. Isn't that interesting? You know what this is?
No, what is it?
They're conducting some sales training, and these are the different kind of salesmen, or at least the way they sell.
I think you're right.
Of course, you can see them all right here. Expert. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's a salesman who's acting like an expert. No, just leave it right there, miss. It's very interesting. Yes, how can a man expect to sell you something when he won't even listen to you?
You know, some of these fellas try to make you think they know more than you do. And I'm just the opposite. If a salesman doesn't know more about what he's selling than I do, what do I need him for? But the one that really bothers me is the indecisive one. The salesman who won't even help you make up an order. If he can't make up his mind what's best, how can he expect me to?
Well, that may be true, but as far as I'm concerned, if there's anything I dislike, it's pressure, being told what to think. I can't get along with a man who acts either like an expert or a bully. I like to make up my own mind.
Well, then there's one flaw in this. If we each like to do business with a different salesman, what is the company going to do? He can't provide a different salesman for each customer.
Hello. I'm sorry to keep you waiting.
Well, nice to see you. We were just looking at your posters.
Oh, that's just something we made up at our sales meeting.
I knew it. I see you've got your salesman pretty well pegged.
Our salesman?
Yes. You know, we were just saying that each of us prefers to have a different salesman call on us, and we were wondering how you determine which man to send to which customer.
Oh, that's just it. You see, we never do know. The only answer is for our salesman to be able to adapt his personality to any of his customers.
Yes, but how can you expect a man to change from one to the other?
Why not? Let me put it this way. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I've agreed many times rather than get into an argument. Or that I've clammed up rather than get involved any further. And, yes, I've hesitated many times to make a decision because there were just too many alternatives. The point is this. Whether we're customers or salesmen, we're all alike in many ways, and all of us have these reactions in us. So when we ask our salesmen to be flexible, all we're asking them to do is to draw upon reactions that are within them already and blend their reactions with those of their customers compatibly. What's most important in any customer-salesman relationship is that we understand each other as people. And to the salesman, this means understanding the hidden side of selling, fulfilling his customer's unseen, unspoken human needs.
That's it. That's what makes my partner such a wonderful salesman. He can work with any customer.
Anytime you want to get rid of him, send him over.
We could use him, too.
So could we.
Well, if you can find him, you can have him.
That bird on the wing is pretty lucky. And these little ones have a good deal, too. Here are a couple of boys who are really fixed for the winter. And this queen and her family have no housing problem. These fellas may be wondering about their next banana, but not about the price of a night's lodging. They've got a ceiling over their heads. And what about these fellas? Their sleeping was usually done without benefit of a ceiling, rent or otherwise. 2 million men have married since entering the service, and millions more were already married when they started packing packs or swinging sea bags. A lot of men have gone through this routine, sat through the last Army lecture, signed the last Navy pay voucher, and come home to love and affection. and problems. Lots of problems. What do you want, Sergeant? A job? You, Private, you want to know about school? Or do you have a different kind of problem? Having trouble finding an apartment? Or a house? Like this one? All brick, 6 rooms, oil burner, near all churches and shopping, convenient transportation. How much rent for this house? For this couple? Together again after being separated by 3.5 years of blue Pacific water? Well, how much, Mr. Agent? A little more than you expected, wasn't it? Can you make it, Joe? Go back home, sit down again with your pencil and paper and see if you can work it out. Did I say home? Dottie's folks are swell, but a fellow would like to spend a little time alone with his wife after 3.5 years of community living in barracks and foxholes. Joe may no longer be a private, but his budget is one thing he'd like to keep that way. Particularly when he sees stuff like this coming along. And Joe, yours isn't the only family doubling up. There are lots more like yours. Lots more to come. Nothing like a nice June wedding with orange blossoms, bridesmaids, and that very special ring. But today there's something you've got to take care of before choosing a ring. Apartment hunting used to be fun, but even the exuberance of youth can't change the fact that the situation today is tough. We've had a time with housing while you were gone. Building materials and labor went to war. The materials that should have gone into houses like this were going into houses like this. Lumber, window glass, roofing, steel, paint, flooring. The fellows who usually built these were building these. There was practically no home building except in critical production centers, where great war plants sprang up and far outstripped in areas housing facilities. This lack of building threatened to send the rents of houses and apartments skyrocketing. Until the Office of Price Administration stepped in to protect the people by holding the line, not only on prices, but on rents as well. These men may not be able to define stabilization, but skyrocketing rents are something they understand. A lot of subjects are being discussed in American town meetings these days, but one thing most people are agreed on is that rent control is a good thing.
I think so. My name's Johnson. I own a house over on 6th Street that's rented full up. Has been for the past 5 years. Sure, I'd like to get higher rents. But I guess if I got higher rent, somebody else would be entitled to hire this, and somebody else again would be entitled to hire that. Before long, at that rate, we'd all be on a roller coaster. Maintenance and repairs are a landlord's big problem today, in view of materials and labor shortages. If my tenants are willing to understand some of my problems in that respect, I can get along with rent control. The way I figure, what this country needs is a little more golden rule and a little less rule of gold. How do my tenants like rent control? Well, why don't you ask them?
My name is Catherine Kelly. I live at 109 6th Street. Mr. Kelly, my husband, works in the post office. I guess he's what you'd call a salaried man. There's a lot to be said for being a salaried man. But I can tell you, most of us never get rich at it. What about rent control? I don't know much about it. Except we were paying $39 a month rent before the war, and we're still paying it. We just couldn't pay any more.
Clark. James Clark, radio engineer. I'm one of Mr. Johnson's tenants, too. What do I think of rent control? Well, mister, I've got a family to support. And anything that keeps down the cost of living is all right with me.
Rent control isn't perfect. There are very few chiselers and rent gougers who insist on bonus payments and phony tie-in sales of furniture. But by the vigilance of cooperating landlords and other local citizens, as well as government officials, the public is protected. This public and this public. The shooting war is over, but we're still at war against inflationary prices and rents. Next to food, rent is the largest item in our budget. Lifting rent controls, while homes are still scarce, would break all other price controls. Such a break of the line would be followed by skyrocketing prices and the kind of headache we had after World War I, which started when rents jumped 50% after Armistice Day. With this situation, it becomes of the utmost importance to hold the line. Break the line on rent by paying or charging illegal rent, and you could help start an inflation whose only result would be the kind of deflation and depression that followed World War I. Take the lid off rents, and you make it tough for this veteran of World War II, coming home to the wife and baby and job he left. What's in store for him when the sun comes up tomorrow and he swings down to the station platform he left 4 years ago? His future income of love and affection may be unlimited, but his financial income will be limited. Remove rent ceilings, and you deal a blow to the workers of our industrial army, going back into the factories to finish their reconversion and keep us on the road to prosperous, full production. The government has been aiding in all ways to stimulate the construction of new homes. Building material prices are being controlled, and building supplies are being channeled to where they will be of the greatest good to the greatest number, to the types of homes that most people need. But demand still far exceeds supply, and will for a long time to come. It will be some time before there are enough of these and these to satisfy adequately the tremendous pent-up demand of the war years, years when we stood shoulder to shoulder against evil overseas. Let's all stand shoulder to shoulder in our own land to protect these men and millions like them, in and out of uniform, against the homegrown evil of oversealing rents, bribes, bonuses, and furniture rackets. If you were threatened with an illegal eviction, report it to the OPA. You'll get help. If you know of a rent violation, report it to the OPA. They'll act on it. If you have a rent problem, ask the OPA about it. They can't find you a place to live, but they can give you all the answers to any questions on rent. We won the shooting war by working together. Let's win the battle against skyrocketing rents and inflationary prices the same way, so that these honored living who have fought and worked will not have fought and worked in vain.